Here are the top stories for today, April 19, 2021. Making progress, some local government units in Metro Manila report a decline in COVID-19 cases, but the palace says the full picture of the impact of strict quarantine measures on COVID-19 cases has yet to be seen. Typhoon Bising leaves at least one dead and displaces thousands in eastern Visayas as it slowly moves away from the country. Work and classes were suspended as the typhoon brings heavy rains and fierce winds. Spreading a good virus, Filipinos prove that no amount of kindness is too small as community pantries sprout across the country to help those in need. And Filipina weightlifting star Hidilyn Diaz makes it to the Tokyo Olympics after finishing fourth in the Asian Weightlifting Championships in Uzbekistan. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. We start at the nation's top office. Malacanang says the country continues to make progress in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said various local government units in Metro Manila have reported a decrease in COVID-19 cases for the past days. Citing LGU data, Roque says these include the cities of Manila, Muntinlupa, Pasay, and Valenzuela. Roque, however, said it is too early to say there is a drastic drop in COVID-19 cases, but noted that this is a sign that the LGU's intensified efforts are finally paying off. The country also boosts its isolation capacity through the construction of more modular hospitals. These include 5 units at the Quezon Institute, 1 unit at the Lung Center of the Philippines, and 1 unit at the Dr. Jose Rodriguez Memorial Hospital. Meanwhile, the country has so far administered over close to 1.5 million COVID-19 vaccines. From this, over 500,000 doses were administered in Metro Manila. At least one was killed while thousands were displaced in eastern Visayas due to fierce winds and heavy rains caused by Typhoon Bising. The Office of Civil Defense Regional Office identified the fatality as Alberto Wales, 70 years old, of San Isidro Village, St. Bernard, Southern Leyte. He was declared dead on arrival at the Anahawan District Hospital around 5:30 p.m. yesterday. In San Jose, Northern Samar, 40-year-old Louis Din went missing on April 16 when he and 3 other companions risked going to the sea to pick livestock from a nearby islet. More than 13,000 individuals have been evacuated to safer grounds in Biliran, Samar, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, and Leyte provinces. In the next 24 hours, the northeasterly wind flow enhanced by Bising will bring strong breeze to near gale conditions with higher gusts over most of northern Luzon, Aurora, and the rest of Quezon. Sea travel is risky for all types of seacraft. Despite the immeasurable hardships, troubles, and suffering due to COVID-19 pandemic, the spirit of Bayanihan is very much alive in the hearts of many Filipinos. Marita Mawahe shows how Filipino traits is being shown in the midst of the pandemic.
Malacanang commended Filipinos for keeping the Bayanihan spirit alive amid COVID-19. This as community pantries have sprouted in the National Capital Region, the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic, to help struggling Filipinos cope. The first known community pantry is located on Maginhawa Street in Quezon City, started by Ana Patricia Noon. She said she too was affected by the pandemic and wants to give back. Inspired by the movement, more community pantries are being set up. Food and other items also from donors are available for free, with the reminder to get just enough for one's needs. Meanwhile, 2 sisters in Iligan City drew inspiration from a community pantry in Quezon City and set up their own. Lucia Silva and her younger sister, Luzian, displayed canned goods, noodles, vegetables, and other grocery items in Barangay Sarao. some 4 kilometers away from their house. The items were from friends and other donors who learned of their initiative online. All were gone in 1 hour. Silva, a UP Diliman graduate, said she replicated the initiative of her classmate Patricia in Quezon City. Still in Iligan City, business owner Manuel Habay also set up a community pantry set right outside his store in Barangay Tipanoy. He said he is inspired by the Silva sisters. He started with packs of rice, noodles, canned goods, and juice drinks for children, worth 2,000 pesos from his store. Habay said 20 of his neighbors benefited, mostly senior citizens. Meanwhile, a village in Angat, Bulacan also come up with its community pantry. Initiated by the Youth Pastoral Council in Barangay Marungko, they formed the Partners for Change chapter in their community and started soliciting donations for their project. But instead of setting up tables, the group distributes rice, vegetables, among others, to residents through its rolling pantry. John Patrick Fandiniola, one of the organizers, said they will also set up more tables in several areas of the community to reach out to more residents. Other community pantries in the province are located in Malolo City, Plaridel, and Pulilan. In Davao City, the community pantry is located at the Rojas Night Market, where people can just off their goods for the people who are in need. In Camarines Sur, the community pantry is set up outside the Bushido restaurant in Barangay del Rosario. In Palawan, a group of concerned citizens opened their community pantry at the Barangay Hall in San Miguel, Puerto Princesa City. And in Paniki, Tarlac, business owner Jade Dungo put out a food cart with goodies for her kababayans. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
The government is planning to convert open areas into vaccination centers. These include gymnasiums, auditoriums, arenas, and other similar venues. This as Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. praised the Taguig City government and its private partners for setting up vaccination hubs that are very convenient and accessible to the people. He specifically lauded Taguig City for its efforts in establishing an orderly vaccination program by opening a mega vaccination hub at SM Aura in Bonifacio, Global City. Meanwhile, Taguig Mayor Lino Cayetano said more vaccination hubs will be put up in various malls in the city. Cayetano said the city government has already signed agreements with Vista Mall, Mega World, SM Group, and Ayala Corporation to establish vaccination hubs that are accessible to all. Taguig City already has 3 mega vaccination hubs that can accommodate at least 1,000 vaccinees daily, 4 community centers for 400 individuals daily, and a mobile vaccination bus to serve those who are unable to go to inoculation centers. Taguig also has 34 testing centers and deployed disease surveillance officers in partnership with the private and public sectors. Still to come, virgin coconut oil against mild symptoms of COVID-19? Why not, according to a palace official? And a buffet in Baguio City shows how to enjoy vegetables in an extraordinary way. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at nanghimpi lang ito.
Foreigners who were given entry exemption document prior to the implementation of last month's travel ban may now enter the Philippines. In an advisory, the Bureau of Immigration said aliens with entry exemption documents issued by the Department of Foreign Affairs before March 22nd are now allowed to enter the country. The revised rule is pursuant to the latest resolution of the Interagency Task Force on the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases. Immigration Commissioner Jaime Morente, meanwhile, said other foreign nationals are still prohibited from entering the Philippines and that the balikbayan privilege for former Filipinos remains suspended. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana denied online posts claiming that a group of retired and active military officers are withdrawing their support for President Rodrigo Duterte. In a statement, Lorenzana denounced the irresponsible propaganda, saying he and other officials of the Department of National Defense will never be part of such groups. He said such disinformation is an act of reckless agitation from detractors who have a limited appreciation of the issues. Lorenzana was referring to the alleged demand of so-called Viber 500 and the retired generals in the cabinet, except vaccine czar Carlito Galvez, for Duterte to denounce China's encroachment in the West Philippine Sea. Meanwhile, AFP Chief of Staff General Cirilito Sobejana dismissed the alleged existence of a Viber group. He said he will disavow the presence or association of officers and enlisted personnel if a group with such kind of mindset will be created in the future. He said the AFP will focus on its mission and continue to perform its constitutional mandates. Caloocan Bishop Pablo Virgilio David thanked the government for recognizing priests and the religious as frontliners. This as priests and leaders of religious groups, regardless of denomination, are now included in the A4 vaccine priority list. In an interview, Bishop David said being vaccinated is important so that the severity of the infection will not be fatal or deadly. Other bishops and priests have received their shots as part of the A2 or senior citizens and A3 or those with comorbidities. Bishop David, who is 62 years of age, received his first dose of AstraZeneca vaccine from the local government last month. With COVID-19 cases still rising, causing hospitals to become overcrowded and treatments to be in short supply, a popular food supplement is now being pushed to treat patients with mild symptoms. Interagency Task Force Co-Chair Cabinet Secretary Carlo Noglares started the distribution of boxes of virgin coconut oil to Metro Manila's Level 1 hospitals. Nograles is pushing for the use of the locally produced food supplement as additional and alternative treatment against COVID-19. Virgin coconut oil, or VCO, is originally known for its antiviral, antibacterial properties. The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, earlier concluded that VCO can be used to treat probable and suspect COVID-19 cases. The United Coconut Association of the Philippines also noted the beneficial properties of the lauric acid in VCO. With renewed public interest in VCO and other coconut oils, stakeholders are seeing a 20% growth in demand this year. Tired of the usual way of serving vegetables? The Bureau of Plant Industry in Baguio City introduced other ways of enjoying vegetables through a buffet. The activity was part of the recently concluded High Value Crop Week from April 12 to 16, which coincided with the Filipino Food Month celebration. Attendees sampled a total of 20 different food preparations using vegetables such as chop suey, carrot salad, and mushroom dinakdakan, mashed potato with filling served on cabbage leaf, and carrot ukoy with dip, among others. The Department of Agriculture said they wanted to show that there are different dishes that can be prepared so that people, especially children, can appreciate vegetables. In our business news, one of the vaccine manufacturers' lead of the Board of Investments is constructing a facility for production of COVID-19 jabs at the first Bulacan Industrial Estate in Malolos City. In a presentation before President Duterte, Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said the project of pharmaceutical company Dr. Zen Biotech will have a total cost of $40 million or 1.9 billion pesos. Dr. Zen will produce second-generation recombinant vaccines for COVID-19. The facility, which will be operational by 2022, is located in the economic zone in Bulacan, which is eyed to be the Philippine first pharmaceutical economic zone. Lopez also presented to Duterte that IG Biotech and IP Biotech want to produce COVID-19 vaccines, influenza multivalent vaccines, and pneumococcal polyvalent vaccines in the country. Duterte vowed that the government will support the potential COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers in the country. Up next, Kamsamnida, South Korea, Seoul extends the period of stay of OFWs for another year. And it's Pinay pride for weightlifting champion Hidilyn Diaz as secures a spot at the Tokyo Olympics. Details ahead, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng coronavirus disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. In our foreign news, the World Health Organization, or WHO, expressed alarm in the increase in COVID-19 cases and deaths worldwide as cases each week have nearly doubled over the past 2 months. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said the world has the tools to end this pandemic, but it is also facing a worldwide resurgence. The WHO chief cited several reasons, including rapidly spreading variants, the inconsistent use and premature easing of public health measures, the fatigue caused by social restrictions, and the dramatic inequity in vaccine coverage. He noted that more than 832 million vaccine doses had been administered globally, but so-called poor countries have received just 0.2%. He said the world could not repeat the past mistakes such as the HIV epidemic, the H1N1 pandemic, when the world's poor got late access to vaccines. As of Friday, WHO had confirmed almost 139 million cases of COVID-19 and just short of 3 million deaths worldwide. South Korea has extended by 1 year the staying period of Filipinos working there as foreign workers continue to grapple with the effects of COVID-19. More on this from Laid Kabagadi.
The period of stay and employment of select overseas Filipino workers in Korea has been extended to 1 year. Korea's Ministry of Employment and Labor and the Ministry of Justice announced the extension of stay of foreign workers amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Filipinos and other foreigners who are under the employment permit system and whose contract expires within April 13 to December 31, 2021 will have a 1-year extension of their stay and contract. This will resolve the difficulties of workers entering and leaving the country during the pandemic and the manpower shortage of small and medium-sized companies. Meanwhile, 3 Filipino survivors of trafficking in Syria arrived Saturday at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Government officials welcomed the 3 females who stayed as wards of the Philippine Embassy shelter in Damascus. They will be assisted in the filing of criminal complaints for violation of Anti-Human Trafficking in Persons Act and Migrant Workers Act. The Department of Foreign Affairs is using a whole-of-government approach to repatriate remaining Filipinos in the embassy shelter. In Cebu, Councilor Alvin Dizon pushed for an ordinance that will create a so-called OFW desk to serve all the needs and concerns of migrant workers. Under the proposed ordinance, the OFW desk is tasked to coordinate the services of the Cebu City government and related agencies for the promotion, protection, and enhancement of the rights and welfare of OFWs and their families. It will also maintain a database of migrant workers residing in Cebu City, which will become the basis for services that will include legal assistance, welfare assistance, pre-departure assistance, and reintegration. It will also collaborate and foster linkages with sectors that are doing advocacy and development work on migration issues and OFWs. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lid Kabagani.
The Western Visayas Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict challenged the militant human rights group Karapatan to condemn the violent acts of the CPP-NPA to show its sincerity in calling for justice and defending the people of Negros Island. Associate Provincial Prosecutor Flosemer Chris Gonzalez, spokesperson of RTF6 LCAT, slammed Karapatan for issuing malicious and baseless claims against government efforts to end local insurgency. He said the CPP-NPA legal front lacks evidence to back its malicious imputations. Gonzalez said instead of accusing the government of committing extrajudicial killings, Karapatan should condemn the CPP-NPA's assassination of soldiers and civilians in Negros. Gonzalez said Karapatan Negros is also silent in the recruitment of children who are being trained and used as child warriors by the CPP-NPA. In April 16, Karapatan issued a statement claiming that Memorandum 32, Executive Order 70, and the anti-terrorism law aim for the killing of human rights defenders and community organizers. In sports, 2016 Rio de Janeiro Games silver medalist Hidilyn Diaz has qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. This after finishing 4th in the Asian Weightlifting Championships in Tashkent, Uzbekistan on Sunday. Diaz was 1 kilogram behind Muatar Nabieva of the host country, who finished 3rd place. China's Liao Qiuyun won the 1st place, while compatriot Li Yahun placed 2nd. Diaz's performance means she completed the International Weightlifting Federation's requirement of competing in 6 Olympic qualifying events. The silver medalist became the 7th Filipino to make it to the Olympics after pole vaulter E.J. Obiena, gymnast Carlos Yulo, boxers Irish Magno, Yumir Marshall, Nesty Petesio, and Carlo Paala. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Making progress, some local government units in Metro Manila report a decline in COVID-19 cases, but the palace says the full picture of the impact of strict quarantine measures on COVID-19 cases has yet to be seen. Typhoon Bising leaves at least 1 dead and displaces thousands in eastern Visayas as it slowly moves away from the country. Work and classes were suspended as the typhoon brings heavy rains and fierce winds. Spreading a good virus, Filipinos prove that no amount of kindness is too small as community pantries sprout across the country to help those in need. And Filipina weightlifting star Hidilyn Diaz makes it to the Tokyo Olympics after finishing 4th in the Asian Weightlifting Championships in Uzbekistan. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.